morning, everyone. Happy New Year. Welcome into this day with Quimper Unitarian Universalist Fellowship. Welcome to this place of peace. May we find some moments of quiet contemplation. Welcome to this place of celebration. May our hearts soar with gratitude for the gift of life. Welcome to this place of sacred love. May we gently hold all that is broken here. Welcome to this place of inquiry. Here may we be challenged to open our minds and hearts ever wider. Come into this place of community. May we together draw the circle of love and justice ever wider. Welcome to this sacred place. Come, let us worship, celebrate, grieve, and love together. My name is Sarah Hull, and I'm a member of the board here at QUUF. As we gather, I acknowledge that the water, land, and shorelines here in Port Townsend are the traditional territory of the S'Klallam and Chimicum peoples. We honor and acknowledge our Indigenous members and neighbors and vow to help restore and sustain these homelands. If you're visiting today, I offer a special welcome and invite you to join us for refreshments and conversation in the fellowship hall after the service. We have a newcomers table near the patio doors where our greeters are ready to answer any questions you might have. Welcome to you all this morning. We're glad you're here. A few announcements. Our lovely flower arrangement today was donated by Carl Bach and the Thursday Afternoon Covenant Group for our grateful appreciation to Linda Hart's ministry to us all. And then I have several announcements from the QUUF board. We have proposed several important revisions to our bylaws and asked for feedback from members. You can find the proposals on the QUUF board policy page, as well as a link where you can send your comments to board members in time for our January meeting. We will consider your comments and make further revisions from there. We will be having 3 congregational meetings in January to tell you about the bylaws proposals and get your feedback. One of the meetings will be on Zoom, and you can get details on all the dates and times from the Friday updates. Also, we'll be holding a mid-year State of the Fellowship congregational meeting on Tuesday, February 6th in the evening. We'll be celebrating all the good things that are happening as we strengthen our fellowship and build toward the future. We'll include a mid-year budget report, as we promised at last year's annual meeting, and we'll be holding a formal vote on the proposed bylaws revisions. We can't approve the bylaws without your votes. We'll be bringing you details in the coming weeks, but please plan to show up here on Tuesday, February 6th from 6 to 8 p.m. Okay, let us settle our minds and calm our hearts.
You are probably expecting a prelude, but we're going to sing later in a few minutes after I offer our opening words by Michelle LeGrave and we light our chalice. We gather together. We arrive as individuals, as couples, as families, as neighbors, as friends. We got here by walking, by biking, by riding, by driving, by connecting. We bring with us our joys and our sorrows, our laughter and our tears, our worries and our fears, our questions and our beliefs, our ethics and our values. Some of us arrived early this morning or joined us 10 minutes ago or encountered obstacles on the way and will arrive just in time for the sermon. Anybody been there? Or maybe we'll sign online later this week or next month. We are sitting in rows, we are leaning on walkers or canes, stretching in the aisles, settling into wheelchairs, and relaxing in recliners. We, members, friends, and visitors alike, come from many paths and join together as one congregation to lift up our highest ideals. We have gathered here to worship. Will you join with me, please, in saying the words for lighting our chalice? Come together again, gather in love, light the fire of hope, build the foundation, commit together again. Gather in truth, light the fire of freedom, build the entryways, continue together again. Gather in community, light the fire of the future, build the shelter. Thank you. All right, now it's time to sing.
It's a 4-part round, so we're going to be dividing that way. So we have multiple leaders, and first we're going to teach you the round, because I don't know that you know it. I didn't know it before last week. And let's see. We have a C note that comes from... Would you give us there. That's our note. And I'm going to line out the first... Yes, we agree. Good. I'm going to line out the first line, and you're going to sing it back to me, and then the second, and sing it back to me like this. The first line is, ring in the new year. Now you, ring it in the new year. And the second line is, bells are ringing, bells are ringing, bells are ringing, bells are ringing. The third line is, peace and love throughout the new year. Peace and love throughout the new year. And the last line is, joy, joy, joy. Joy, joy, joy. Let's try it all together from the beginning. Ring it in the new year. Ring it in the new year. Bells are ringing, bells are ringing, bells are ringing, bells are ringing. Peace and joy throughout the new year. Peace and joy throughout the new year. Joy, joy, joy. Joy, joy, joy. Now let's put the musicians to work.
Well, just a second. Whoa, 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 whoa. Hang on. I have a little introduction to make.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh. I would do it in interpretive dance. You laid down a good beat for that, but it's easier to tell it. So I learned this song probably 20 years ago, second year of parish ministry. I was living in Vermont, and I was an avid contra dancer. Do I have companions out there? I got a few. Avid contra dancer, and I had the opportunity to go down to Western North Carolina to Brasstown, which is a folk school, and spend the entire week there dancing. And early on in the week, we learned this round. And as we danced our way into the new year, that New Year's Eve, we started singing this about a minute early, and we rocked it and rolled it for, it must have been 10 minutes, just singing with absolute delight and glee and fun and I thought we should share in some of that here. So I encourage you to rise if you want to sing with us, to dance. As I noted, John laid down a nice rhythm there for us to groove to. And let's have fun with this. Let's just sing our joy. Yes. What's next? Yes, it is time for all ages. See, I was just so taken away. No, I'm all right. I'll just be over close to the center. Or you can move it. That's fine. I would invite children to come forward, those young at heart, childish, childlike, all of us. Hi. Woo. How you doing, guys? Nice to see you. Oh, thanks for coming and sitting with me. Nice to see you this morning. Thanks for coming up. So today is what? It's the New Year's Eve. So tomorrow starts the first. It's the first day of a new year, and lots of people spend time making resolutions. Do you know what resolutions are? Yeah, I believe this one knows. They're sharing with me right now. They are promises or plans. They're promises. Yeah, it's a book. They're promises or plans about what you'd like to do, some changes that you might want to make. And I have a story for us called "Giraffes Can't Dance," and it's about a giraffe who can't dance. Yes, I know. It's an awesome book. I'm loving this. I just want to mention to you, yeah, it's kind of totally okay with me to be the center of attention of a small person. Don't you know? Don't you wish you were up here? Yeah. I feel y'all out there. All right. So this is about Gerald, who is a giraffe who wants to be able to dance, and so we're going to hear Gerald's story, thinking about our New Year's resolutions. Yeah, I know. Gerald was a tall giraffe whose neck was long and slim, but his knees were awfully crooked and his legs were rather thin. He's a giraffe. He was very good at standing still and munching shoots off trees. But when he tried to run around, he buckled at the knees. Look, he's falling down. Owie. Every year in Africa, they hold the jungle dance where every single animal turns up to skip and prance. And this year, when the day arrived, poor Gerald felt so sad. Aww. Come on, you can do better than that. Aww. Thank you. Because when it came to dancing, he was really very bad. I know, he's up there too. The warthogs started waltzing. The rhinos rocked and rolled. The lions danced a tango that was elegant and bold. I know. The chimps all did a cha-cha with a very Latin feel. 8 baboons then teamed up for a splendid Scottish reel. Uh-oh. Maybe away from the drum. Gerald swallowed bravely as he walked toward the floor, but the lions saw him coming, and they soon began to roar. "Hey, look, it's clumsy Gerald," the animals all sneered. "Giraffes can't dance, you silly fool. Oh, Gerald, you're so weird." That's sad. Don't you think that's sad? I do. Gerald simply froze up. He was rooted to the spot. They're right, he thought. I'm useless. I feel like such a clot. And so he crept off from the dance floor and started walking home. He'd never felt so sad before. So sad and all alone. Let's do it again. Aww. Poor Gerald. Then he found a little clearing, and he looked up at the sky. "The moon can be so beautiful," he whispered with a sigh. "Excuse me," coughed a cricket who'd seen Gerald earlier on. "But sometimes when you're different, you just need a different song." Way too interesting, isn't it? Listen to the swaying grass and listen to the trees. To me, the sweetest music is the branches in the breeze. So imagine that the lovely moon is playing for you. Everything makes music if you really want it to. With that, the cricket smiled and picked up his violin. Then Gerald felt his body do the most amazing thing. His hoofs had started shuffling, making circles on the ground. His neck was gently swaying, and his tail was swishing round. Wow. What do you think? He threw his legs out sideways, and he swung them everywhere. Then he did a backward somersault and leapt up in the air. Let's say wow. Wow. Then one by one, each animal who'd been there at the dance arrived while Gerald boogied and watched him quite entranced. They shouted, "It's a miracle! We must be in a dream! Gerald's the best dancer that we have ever seen! How did you learn to dance like that? Please, Gerald, tell us how." But Gerald simply twirled around and finished with a bow. And that, when you have thick pages, it's hard to tell, is our story for today. So that's to remember, for us to remember, and for the adults here to remember, that things can change and we can be different if we need to as we make our resolutions for the year. So that's our story for today. Thank you all for coming up and joining me. Let's make an arch, please, and sing their kids out to their time in religious education. Thank you for coming up. Go now in peace, go now in peace. May the spirit of love surround you everywhere.
everywhere you may go. Go now in peace, go now in peace. May the spirit of love surround you everywhere, everywhere you may go.
We pause for a time of generosity and to receive an offering to support the Life Ministerial Discretionary Fund. This is used for any QUUF member or local persons who are in financial need. The ushers will come among you to receive the offering, and additional ways for giving are projected.
Thank you, Pat. That was gorgeous, wasn't it? This time is set aside to share the joys and sorrows. You can't hear? There we go. That's better. Thank you. This time is set aside for the sharing of joys and sorrows. We recognize that our personal joys and sorrows are only a fragment of the joys and sorrows of the larger community of life. Thus, we place our first stone, thinking in particular of those who are living in the midst of war, in places too many to name, who are struggling to stay alive in circumstances that are, quite honestly, beyond the comprehension of any of us here, most likely. We don't have other joys and sorrows from the community, so we'll place a stone for all those joys and sorrows that are left unspoken. Thank you. I invite you into a time of quiet and reflection together. We'll have the poem, View Number 2 by Thomas Santalella, and then a time of stillness together. I invite you to close your eyes, unclench your jaw, let your shoulders drop, and take a few deep breaths. It was just one task to recover the taken for granted. There were others, such as simply recover. And then consider there's no time off for good behavior, that the city was a carnival of incandescent streets, but also a dim labyrinth, that the beloved bridge connecting two wonders of solid ground provided as well a jumping-off point for those who had lost heart. That some roads, no matter where they take you, will double back. And then consult the window for weather, put on some clothes and good intentions, and begin again. Let us pause in stillness. So may it be. Amen. Our readings today come from two of my professors at the University of Chicago Divinity School, where I got my master's. The first is from David Tracy and his book, Plurality and Ambiguity, Hermeneutics, Religion, and Hope. He writes, when human beings converse, they may converse, of course, about themselves. They may exchange their narratives, expose their hopes, desires, and fears. They may both reveal and conceal who they think they are and who they think the other may be. The other now becomes the conversation partner. Conversation is a game with some hard rules. Say only what you mean. Say it as accurately as you can. Listen to and respect what the other says, however different or other. Be willing to correct or defend your opinions if challenged by the conversation partner. Be willing to argue if necessary, to confront if demanded, to endure necessary conflict, to change your mind if the evidence suggests it. These good rules are merely variations of the transcendental imperatives elegantly articulated by Bernard Lonergan. Be attentive, be intelligent, be responsible, be loving, and if necessary, change.
Our second reading is from The One and the Many, America's Struggle for the Common Good by Martin Marty. The pursuit of efforts to do justice to both the one and the many, the whole and the parts, the civil association and the voluntary associations, has to begin with fresh motivations and reconceptions. Nicholas Rescher has indicated one approach worth exploring, while offering his own critique of the enduring search for consensus. Rescher listened to two kinds of voices. He heard the consensualists saying, in effect, Do whatever is needed to avert discord. Work always and everywhere for consensus. Rescher posed this over and against the pluralists and sided with them as I do. The pluralists urge, accept the inevitability of dissensus in a complex and imperfect world. Then they strive to make the world safe for disagreement and to keep the processes and procedures tolerable and, one hopes, productive. Our special music is an anthem, Darkness Shall Cover the Earth, by The People Who Walked in Darkness by George Frederick Handel, with Doug and Pat.
For behold, darkness shall cover the earth, and gross darkness the people, and gross darkness the people. But the Lord shall arise upon thee, and his glory shall be seen upon thee, and his glory shall be seen upon thee, and the Gentiles shall come to thy light, and kings to the brightness of thy rising. The people that walked in darkness, that walked in darkness, the people that walked in darkness have seen a great light, have seen a great light. The people that walked in darkness have seen a great light. The people that walked in darkness, that walked in darkness, the people that walked in darkness have seen a great light, have seen a great light, a great light, have seen a great light. And they that dwell in the land of the shadow of death, dwell in the land, that dwell in the land of the shadow of death. Upon them hath the light shined, and they that dwell in the land of the shadow of death, upon them hath the light shined, upon them hath the light shined.
Grateful for the good music today. I'm actually grateful for the good music every week. It's just, I don't always know, I'm not going to try to finish that one. It was going to take me someplace I didn't want to go anyhow. When my family and I moved to London for me to serve the Richmond and Putney Unitarian Church, I had to learn a lot about what it meant to be a Unitarian in the United Kingdom. It wasn't as easy a transition as I had anticipated it would be. First, I had to train myself yet again to say Unitarian rather than Unitarian Universalist. And I had only gotten around to saying Unitarian Universalist when I went to seminary. All my childhood and into my teen years, we were just Unitarians. And then I went to seminary, and I learned that I'd been saying it wrong all those years and that I needed to say Unitarian Universalist, Unitarian Universalist, Unitarian Universalist. And I really trained myself over and over again to do that, and then I had to undo it again. It was just not fair, but I did it. I managed. And then, of course, there was coming back to the United States and having to retrain myself. Anyhow, as I was adjusting to saying just Unitarian, I was also becoming familiar with the kinds of differences there were in how they worshiped there rather than how I was accustomed to worshiping here in the United States. 4 hymns every service. 4 hymns. One Sunday, I actually only included 3 because we were at, there was another thing that I wanted to include, and one of the members scolded me for not having all 4 hymns. Now, I'll say, Jess was in her later years and lived in supported care and got brought to church in her wheelchair on Sunday mornings. And the music was where she was most connected into the service. She often snoozed through other parts, but she was always awake, and her lips moved during the hymns. I promised her I would never do it again. In a brochure about how people worship at Unitarian churches in the United Kingdom, it noted that the Lord's Prayer may be said or sung. When I scoffed at such a thing, I was quickly corrected. Yes, a goodly number of congregations over there did that. And then there's the equivalent of the Unitarian Universalist Association over there, which is the General Assembly of Unitarian and Free Christian Churches. Free Christians? What? Now, it turned out that the Free Christian movement came about around the same time as the Unitarians were forming in England and share a lot of characteristics. In fact, the church I served, the Richmond Church, had originally been a free church. The easiest way to explain this, what it means to be a free Christian, was to start with the pubs in England. Trust me, we get there. When we first visited England, the summer before we moved there, Peter and I were really rather tickled by the pubs that declared themselves free, right? Free pubs, yay! We eventually learned that instead of meaning that the beer was free, which we hoped, we eventually found out that instead of meaning that, it indicated that this particular pub was not owned by a brewery, and so they served a variety of beers. Apparently early on in pubs, they were all owned by, I see nodding. Some of you know this. So the free Christian churches were the ones that weren't beholden to any particular practice or theology, very much in keeping with Unitarians at the time. I just also want to note another little bit of history, which is to say that there wasn't a clear and clean line that could be drawn between the Unitarians as they formed in England and their long history of doing that, and those who banded together in the United States. Very different histories for each of those movements. But they incorporated, both of them incorporated on the same day in the early 19th century. They shared much in terms of practice and theology, but they were independent of each other. I offered this prelude to come into some reflection about how it is we join in conversation and community with each other. And it's important to note that in the 19th century, when the two movements, one in America and one in England, came into being, they both through that time, since they came into being, they have both had a fair amount of struggle about how you create an open and affirming community that didn't require a particular set of beliefs, nor even have rituals that held them together. And yet, they've survived, both of them, up to this time. And we all continue to try to figure out how to do this pluralism thing. It's a never-ending task. Because when you don't insist that everyone has to agree on what to believe, then how do you move forward? How do you create community? I appreciate what Martin Marty has to say about how to live in the world where diversity is always the reality. We forget that it isn't always the reality, but it is always the reality. Rather than requiring everyone to agree that we all come to consensus, an impossibility in any faith, but especially in ours. You know, there's that old joke about Unitarian Universalists. I've been told I shouldn't tell this, but when you have two Unitarian Universalists, you have at least 3 opinions. Anyhow, Marty argues for pluralism. He says, the pluralist urge accept the inevitability of dissensus in a complex and imperfect world, and then strive to make the world safe for disagreement and to keep the processes and procedures tolerable and, one hopes, productive. One way that we have done that historically as Unitarian Universalists is by coming to some agreements about how we will be together in community. That is, we propose covenants, promises that we make to one another about how we will disagree and how we will find our way together as a community. Next week, I'm going to be talking about the covenant of right relations that is a part of this community, and the Healthy Communications team will be offering an opportunity during coffee hour for us to engage in that a bit more. So I encourage you all to come along to that service too, which is something of a second half for this one. So yeah, y'all come next week. Bring your friends. Did you hear that? Yes? Yes? Bring your friends, right? Got it? Okay, good. So it's important to note that sometimes we do this pluralism thing well, and sometimes we do it completely badly. It's the nature of human beings. It's part of our human condition. Fallible, irrational, overly certain. That's all of us at one time or another. We're sometimes reactive and loud rather than careful and responsive. And I'll note that I am right there with all y'all in this. My flaws are wide and deep, and some are old friends that are hard for me to leave. Anybody identify just a little bit? We are all works in process all the time, always learning and growing if we're doing it right. That's why being able to join in conversation with each other is so essential, and why we need to remember the good rules that David Tracy notes. Say only what you mean, say it as accurately as you can, listen to and respect what the other says, however different or other. Be willing to correct or defend your opinions if challenged by the conversation partner. Be willing to argue if necessary, to confront if demanded, to endure necessary conflict, to change your mind if the evidence suggests it. And then from Bernard Lonergan, I have loved these words since I first read them many decades ago. Be attentive, be intelligent, be responsible, be loving, and if necessary, change. Real conversations about hard things are so very challenging at their very best. One of the requisites for having real conversations about hard things is that we have to get vulnerable, hold loosely to our hard-won truths, and open our hearts. It is hard work. And it can yield results that we can't get any other way. Earlier this year, I talked about the need for softening, and I quoted poet Andrea Gibson. She said, "They said, I loved learning that octopi have evolved at lightning speed because of their vulnerability. The fact that they were shellless, soft, and defenseless was exactly why they became one of the most evolved species on Earth, overhauling their entire body to survive." Now, hopefully, we don't have to overhaul our entire bodies to survive a hard conversation. But the capacity to lower our defenses makes possible connections that could be made no other way. Understanding, and if not agreement, then at least truces become possible. The agreement to disagree. And let me say it just again. There is nothing about this that's easy. But grounded in love for each other and holding a vision of what we can do and be in the world, we can make our way. We are able to open our vision to extend what we can do to make the whole world more just and fair. And at its heart, this work is about love. I'll have more to say that next week when I'm talking about our Covenant of Right Relations, but here's a taster from Nancy Mears, one of my favorite writers. She reminds us, conceiving love as only as a warm fuzzy, you can readily forget how much work it entails. But it's authentic work, strenuous and productive, doing a do, not avoiding a don't. It puts you in right relation, reciprocal rather than hierarchical. The truths that guide our lives are more often hard-won than easily adopted. It's my experience. The work of discerning what is most important, what is most needed, what is the closest we can get to something like truth. That work asks us to open, to listen well, and to be willing to transform, sometimes small bit by small bit, sometimes because the earth has shaken beneath us. Carter Hayward reminds us that love is a choice, not simply or necessarily a rational choice, but rather a willingness to be present to others without pretense or guile. When we come into a community that is pluralistic, like ours, that doesn't rely on a particular ascription of faith, that instead, as one of our hymns suggests, our faith bids the soul in search of truth, adventure boldly and explore. I love that line. We find our way toward the future best by joining with one another, I believe, in communities like this. We find our way through conversation, through exploration and discovery of the truths that enliven us, that help us navigate this all too complex world. And most importantly, that deepen our capacity for living our love into the world. It will never be an easy journey, but it is ours to take up, and it is worth every moment of the journey. So may it be. Amen. Let's sing. Our hymn is, I think it's 168, One More Step. Is that right? Look at me remembering. Woohoo!
One more step, we will take one more step, till there is peace for us and everyone. We'll take one more step. One more word, we will say one more word, till every word is heard by everyone. We'll say one more word. One more prayer, we will say one more prayer, till every prayer is shared by everyone. We'll say one more prayer. One more song, we will sing one more song, till every song is sung by everyone. We'll sing one more song.
Please be seated. Our closing words from Wayne Arneson. Take courage, friends. The way is often hard, the path is never clear, and the stakes are very high. Take courage, for deep down, there is another truth. You are not alone. So may it be. Amen. Will you join me in saying the extinguishing the chalice words? We extinguish our flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, the fire of commitment, nor the power of transformation. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. What's next?
There's a sky full of snow above us all aglow, as we sing merrily, merrily, as we sing merrily, merrily. There is music in the air, and beauty everywhere, as we laugh cheerily, cheerily, all the day, all the day. We will sound a hearty good eve, a hearty good eve, a hearty good eve. And we'll shout a welcoming call to you what a scene, decked out in red and green, as we dance gleefully, gleefully, as we dance gleefully, gleefully. May all your family thrive as the new year does arrive. May we live joyfully, joyfully, all the day, all the day. We will sound a hearty good eve, a hearty good eve, a hearty good eve, and we'll shout a welcoming call to you all. Let's celebrate and raise our voices high, raise them high, raise them high. There's a sky full of snow above us all aglow, as we sing merrily, merrily, as we sing merrily, merrily. There is music in the air, and beauty everywhere, as we laugh cheerily, cheerily, all the day.